Alright, hey, shalom, Akim, shalom. First and foremost, before we get started, as always, giving all praise unto our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachaha Kodash. Alright, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, the elders of Great Millstone that have taught us His truth and that rule well. And peace and blessings go out to the hopeful members of the elect, scattered throughout the four winds of the earth, that are in the hopes of receiving salvation and mercy during the time of Jacob's trouble, and that are worshiping the Heavenly Father in sincerity, in spirit, and in truth. Alright? Now in this lesson, man, I wanted to talk about a couple things pertaining to the said judgment that's slowly but surely coming to America, man. Alright? Right now, as we speak, as America is involved in the conflict in the Middle East, as they're in the conflict with Russia via Ukraine, and how they're now springing up into another one via Turkey due to the fact of Turkey now being at variance with what Israel's doing by them creating this one thing. Let me see if I can pull it up. By them creating the E1 settlement plan. Alright, this is doing nothing more but causing America to not only conjure up more enemies, but to be put in a position of being in straits, man. Alright, let's not forget about the Strait of Hormuz. Alright, right now we're living in a time, man, where it's being evident that America is going down the pipeline, man. Alright, so, and another thing that I wanted to mention is the fact that when you go back during the time of the Roman Empire, as all of us brothers should understand, one of the means of how Rome fell was due to them having their military widespread. You know, and that's exactly where America finds itself right now. As we understand, America is Rome all over again. You know, so we're living in a time right now, brothers, where we should be in a spirit of rejoicing. All right, because we're literally seeing on full color the downfall of the land of our captivity, the wickedest empire ever known to man. You know, so call Allah Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man. All right. So with that being said, there's a couple points that I want to make based upon the things that I just said. The first thing that I actually want to bring out is the book of Obadiah. All right, the first chapter, of course, and hit the third. You know what? Let's start at the first verse. All right, because when you read the book of Obadiah, as we all understand, it's pinpointing a specific nation, being Edom. All right, and as we always bring out, man, when you tap into the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, all right, Edom is the only nation that has not been given mercy, all right? And in the end times, it would be judged severely by Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, man, all right? And as we're living in the end times where we're seeing many signs in the heavens, case in point, last night there was a blood moon, all right? We're seeing that we're in the end times, all right? So as we understand that we're in that time, Edom, which would be in the position where it starts getting judged, all right, and through the Spirit giving us the understanding of the scriptures, beginning with the apostles of Great Millstone, Edom is the so-called white people. All right. So let's read. It says, "The vision of Obadiah, thus saith Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai concerning Edom." All right, the so-called white people. "We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle." All right, and this is exactly what the Heavenly Father is doing right now, where He's putting the Spirit upon all these kings to now coming to the conclusion of realizing that America is the problem as far as why their country is such in a destitute state. All right. Earlier this week, I was watching a video where it did a time lapse of how Iran, all right, and the southern part of Jerusalem looked, which that part of Jerusalem was predominantly civilized by Iranians, all right? But back in those times, Iran and that part of Jerusalem was beautiful. You know, there was vegetation, people were outside, people were living their life, man, you know, doing their thing, all right? But when you fast forward into now, all those places that those Ishmaelites once upon a time, lived in and were thriving in, they're all decimated, man. You know, completely in ruins due to who? The so-called white man being in the position of pursuing a John 10 and 10, The thief cometh not but to steal, kill, and destroy. All right? And all the other nations are victims of this, man. All right? Look at what happened over there in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You know? Best believe that those Japanese, people are still in a position where they're holding a very strong grudge in their heart towards how they feel about America, man. All right? And the list can go on and on. You know? Africa. Africa's a very beautiful country. But due to the fact of Esau using his colonization methods, that place is in ruins right now. Their civilians are barely making it day by day. Their children are famished. They're thirsty. All right? So now the Heavenly Father is putting the Spirit upon these heathen to rise up against America and fight. All right? And the means of how these nations are going to fight is through a slow war. All right? And the beautiful way of how you can see that is through Iran, man. Instead of, going tit for tat with America by sending drones, by sending nukes, all right? They're using an anaconda method, so to speak, where they're squeezing the life out of America through the Strait of Hormuz, all right, and cutting their oil supply, all right? As we always bring out the point, man, when it comes to oil, that is the cardiovascular system, so to speak, of how America's cities live. When you look at the logistics system, in order for trucks to, drop off certain produce such as water, goods that people intake and whatnot, they need oil, all right, diesel, to transfer all those things, man. And this is why you see such an uptick in gas prices, all right, predominantly in diesel, and within the set effects of the Strait of Hormuz they're hitting right now. The cost of living right now is very hard, man, and it's going to continue to ramp up, all right? And I wanted to bring this out earlier this week, all right? But the beloved brother Yawana had brought out this video where you had this one dude, September 2026, person with laptop. But you had this dude pretty much on, I forget when it happened exactly, but yep, his name is Taleb Al-Abdul Mohsen, all right? Sounds like here he is right here. Sounds like an Ishmaelite, but going back in December, all right, I believe it was in Germany, he ran a bunch of people over, man, Now in this video, it shows that his screen is green, all right, but when you go into different, videos and whatnot, it was not green. On his camera, his laptop, it says September 2026, all right? No explanation, nothing was given as far as why he did that, all right? But as we link, prophecy with current events, we could see that something is about to give, man. The Heavenly Father is judging the earth right now, brothers. You just had the thing out there in Nepal where it was completely flooded, people being killed by the way of the pressure of water, elephants were being dragged through the mud, buildings were being taken down, and there's been nothing but earthquake after earthquake, man. The Heavenly Father is moving right now, brothers, so we got to be in a position where, as our beloved elder out here in Cali says, the beloved elder Mwatazak, stay ready so that you don't have to get ready. We're in a position right now, brothers, where the Heavenly Father has put us up on game, all right? But we got to capitalize on that right now, man, and make sure that we're taking every necessary precaution to be tapping into the Spirit and getting ready for what is to come and have the ability to walk by faith, man, all right? Because faith is going to be what gets us through these times, all right? But let's go back to Obadiah, all right, and keep reading on into the second verse and go back into the topic that was at hand in terms of America now being in a position where it's falling, all right? Oh, and another thing before we keep reading is the fact that Iran and other countries have a lot of their sleeper cell agents in America right now, man. So I wouldn't be surprised, all right, because I remember elders were saying that this dude was one of them, a sleeper agent. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a bunch of homies out here on the same tip, But we'll see, man. But coming into this next month, September of 2026, all right, be ready for the unexpected, man. All right. Verse 2, it says, Behold, all right, we're still talking about Edom. I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. And we're seeing these heathen despise Esau openly, you know? There was a video earlier, I think it happened this month for sure, but out there in Iran, they were celebrating a poster or some kind of video where it appeared that Trump and Netanyahu were being hung, you know, and the whole Iranian audience that was looking at that were cheering, you know, jumping up and down, saying hooray. This is what they want, man, because they greatly despise this country for what they've done to their country. All right, so America is getting ready to reap what they've sown in the earth, and that's nothing more but judgment. All right, as America is identified in the scriptures as being a destroying mountain, which in the Bible, mountains are representative of governments, he's going to be put in a position where his mountain is destroyed. All right, so let's keep reading. Verse 3, it says, The pride of thine heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. All right, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, Who shall bring me down to the ground? And this is the mindset of America right now, man. You know, just as the Heavenly Father was hardening the heart of Pharaoh, the Lord is doing the same thing with America. You know, here it is. When you look at things on the fine print, you can see that America isn't winning, man. When it comes to the war in the Middle East, when it comes to the war with Ukraine, all right, these are all wars that are not playing in the benefit of America, okay? But yet America still has this pomp, all right, where it thinks that it's going to win, all right? Case in point, earlier of this year, I think it was actually last month, Trump had pretty much announced that the Strait of Hormuz is going to be American property very soon. You know, that in itself is a very, very boastful thing to say, man. You know, because earlier you had, I forget who exactly it was. It was a prime minister of Iran for sure, but he had said that the Iranian sword will always be swinging below the Strait of Hormuz, man. Pretty much saying that they will never lose control of that part of the land. All right. They're going to be the ones that gives the green light of who can come in, who can come out. And if there's someone that's coming in illegally, well, they're just going to bust that cargo ship to the ground, man. You know, but this just shows how there's much tension between these nations towards America, man. You know, and they're not going down without a fight. So from here, let's go down to 7. It says, All the men of thy confederacy, still talking about America, have brought thee even to the border. And once upon a time, Turkey was a part of NATO. All right? Fighting side to side with America, so to speak. All right? But now Turkey is in a different tip, where it's now joining hands with quote unquote the enemy, which in reality it's, you know, the nations that are going to take hands and destroy America, man. All right? And rightfully so. If I was a heathen, I would be in that same spirit. You know, but real quick, I had looked this up earlier as I was watching the Beloved Elders out in Chicago. You know, they always do their sit-downs on Sundays. But the Beloved Elder Malcolm had played a video where this woman had brought out the information about what we're going to read about here, where you have these nations, which are the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, and other nations, joining a joint foreign minister statement condemning Israel's E1 settlement plan and annexation policies in the occupied West Bank. All right? It says, the core issue, the nation strongly rejected Israel's E1 settlement plan and east of Jerusalem and recent measures to change land registration and administrative authority in the West Bank. All right? And as a matter of fact, let's actually look up this E1 settlement plan, because I don't really know too much about it. All right? But let's, look it up together. It says the E1 settlement plan is an Israeli project to build over 3,400 housing units, hotels, and industrial zones on a 12 square kilometer tract of land in the West Bank between East Jerusalem and the Ma'ale Adumim settlement. All right. So here it is, without asking, any questions from those nations that inhabit that part of land. Israel's just saying that, yeah, we're gonna build houses there. You know. So again, we're dealing with the nation, all right, that are also Edomites that are very proudful, man. All right, but now we're seeing that these nations that were once upon a time, conforming to whatever they said, we're seeing them stand for themselves, man, and not putting up with the shit that they've been dealing with for decades. You know? Now the heathen are starting to bark back, man. All right. So we'll see what happens, man. But this is nothing more, like I said earlier, getting the gears turning to further the process of the Arab nations coming together. All right, because as we speak, a lot of those nations that are within that Middle East area, where you have countries like Yemen, Oman, UAE, and so much and so forth, a lot of them, although they're the same genus, where they derive from Ishmael, a lot of them have schisms due to the fact of what they believe in and other political reasons. All right, but they're all coming, to the conclusion of understanding that we both, all this right here, we all hate the same person, being the white man. So fuck it, let's join together and let's take him down. All right, and we'll take back our land and we'll do our thing. This is the common mindset that these heathen have right now, man. All right. So it's beautiful. All right, because it does nothing more but further the process of America being destroyed, man. All right. And the reason as to why we say America is going to be destroyed due to the fact of what Israel is doing is because whatever Israel says, America follows through. All right. And this does nothing more but backs up what biblical prophecy entails. So this is Jeremiah 49:20. Therefore hear the counsel of Yahweh that he has taken against Edom, the same nation of who we're talking about in Obadiah, and his purposes that he has purposed against the inhabitants of Teman, which the Temanites are talking about, the modern day Germans, which is also a nation that goes back to Edom. It says, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Now when you look at the different Edomite, nations that are in power, the one that is the smallest among them is the Israelis, the so-called Israelis. Here it is, they inhabit a shrivel of land in the earth, but they have so much to say. Whenever they speak, their words are supreme. So this is talking about the little hats, man. All right, and based upon what's happening within the war in the Middle East, if it wasn't for the little hats being so goddamn retarded, all right, that war would have been done away with years ago. Fucking Netanyahu has been crying wolf for decades, talking about, yeah, those Iranians, man, they have nuclear capability, they're gonna bomb us any day now. But to this day, Iran has never done a thing as such. All right, but it just goes to show that the fact of Israel crying wolf, America is constantly going through a position where they gotta go send troops over there in the Middle East and spend a lot of money in that region. So America's military is being drawn out, man. All right, and as we said, America's military right now isn't looking too good. America's military is involved in too many conflicts right now, man. All right, so we'll see what happens. All right, but understand that America is going down the pipeline, brothers. All right, so call Allah Yahweh Shemel Shai. So let's get this real quick. I looked this up earlier. Was Rome's fall due to them having their military too spread out? And it says Rome fell because of many complex reasons, and having a military that was spread out too thin was one major factor. All right. It says why the military was spread out. Huge borders. The empire grew too large to guard easily. Soldiers took too long to move from one border trouble spot to another. High costs. Paying legions all along the outer edges drained the Roman treasury. And this is exactly what's going to happen to America, man. Alright? America's economy isn't looking good at all, man. Alright? At all. And with them getting involved in all these different little wars that are springing up, it's going to make it nothing more but worse. Alright? It's as if you're adding salt to a wound. To an open wound. That shit's going to sting hella. Alright? And we're all going to feel it, man. But this is where us brothers, as I said earlier, are going to start tapping into the faith of our forefathers, man. This is where we're going to shine and truly spread our wings as being Israelites. Alright? Where we show that Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai is our power. Alright? Yeah, so that's pretty much it, man. You know what? Let me actually read this part too. It says, other causes of Rome's fall. Alright? And best believe that these are all things that are happening in America. Alright? Again, the deadly wound of the dragon has been healed by what? Through America, man. Alright? America shares many similarities with how Rome ruled. You know? But that's a different topic for another day. Let's read these points. It says, economic crisis. High taxes and a drop in trade weaken the economy. Is that not what's happening here in America? Taxes are rising up, and the trades within America are getting slimmer and slimmer. You know, Trump is putting these fucking tariffs on these other nations. America, what do you call it? The Strait of Hormuz occurred, where America no more has access to that oil supply. It ain't looking good here, man. All right. And again, that what do you call it? Damn, Salaki, I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, that strait was closed back in February 28th. You know, so from February all the way up until today, you know, our oil supply out here in America is getting very slim. All right, so best believe that the rations of what America has been doing these past couple months is almost up. Okay, and once it's up, you're gonna see the cost of living skyrocket up the ass, man. All right, and truthfully, I can't wait for those times, man. Of course, you know, we're gonna be in the belly of the beast where we experience a lot of that affliction. All right, but brothers, we got the Lord on our side. All right, the Lord is gonna take care of everything as long as we maintain our integrity as being Israelites and we continue to do this work and condemn this nation. All right, just like in Egypt, you know, the Heavenly Father provided for us when that thick darkness occurred during the time of the Passover. All right, it was all dark throughout Egypt except in Midian. Okay, best believe that the Heavenly Father is going to provide for those in those times where that same darkness occurs once again. All right, but yeah, that's pretty much the points, brothers. All right, so let me get this in 2nd Ezra 16 and 21, and I believe that's all I wanted to play. Khan, yep. So this is 2nd Ezra 16 and 21. It says, behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And that's your average American's mindset right now, man. You know, just because they can still go to Trader Joe's, Sprouts, fucking Whole Foods, and still buy food that is easily accessible, alright? That doesn't mean that shit isn't about to hit the fan, man. Alright? And oh yeah, I meant to play this video where you had this Jake woman. She's a scientist. She works on farms and whatnot. And, you know, they're in the business of making produce, you know, grow faster. And one of the means of how they do that is using sulfur and putting that in the fertilizer. You know, but again, as that strait is being closed, fertilizer isn't being sent over here to America, man. And on top of that, sulfur is something that America is scarce in right now. All right. And one of the things that woman had said is that it ain't looking good as far as the food industry here in America. All right. So best believe that famine is coming, man. All right. Let's read on. It says, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. All right? And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them. For the earth shall be wasted, and the city shall be cast down. All right? And this is the reality of where we're at right now, man. Where all these things are at the horizon of being completed and being right in front of our faces, man. All right? So, like I said earlier, we're in a time, brothers, where we got to lock in. And I'm speaking first and foremost to myself, man. We all got vices. We all got responsibilities. All right? But the number one responsibility that we got to put at the forefront is serving our power, man. All right? In those times, your woman isn't going to save you. In those times, that job that you constantly bust your ass for isn't going to save you. What will save you is the dedication that you have towards Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, man. All right? And that's what, like I said earlier, that's what we should be capitalizing on this, in this time that we're in right now, where the gates of mercy are still open, man. All right? So, tap in. All right? But yeah, man, with that, Lord willing, this was an edifying lesson, brothers. Salakia, if I sound like I'm rushing, which I am. Jay got to go into work in like 10 minutes. So, Lord willing, this was an edifying lesson for you, brothers and sisters. Lord willing, I'll make another lesson today because I got another topic that's been on my spirit. As always, giving all praise into our power. Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. All right. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings unto the elect. Shalom.